Buenas, buenas, bienvenidos. Welcome to a special episode of Hablamos Spanglish. Mi gente, as we initiate Hispanic Heritage Month, we have the honor of welcoming a una Latina leader in the promotion of diversity, inclusion, and equity in the United States. Our guest today, Claudia Romo Edelman, is an inspiring social entrepreneur, a data-driven speaker, and an unwavering advocate for positive change. Claudia has forged a remarkable career working with world-renowned organizations such as the United Nations, UNICEF, and the World Economic Forum for over 25 years. Claudia is not only the founder of We Are All Human Foundation, but also the driving force behind the Hispanic All-Star Initiative and the host of the podcast A La Latina. Today, we will deep dive into Claudia's remarkable journey, her recent projects, and how she is contributing to reshaping the narrative about the Latino community in the United States. Hola Claudia, bienvenida. Welcome to Hablamos Spanglish. I'm super excited and honored to have you as a guest today. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited. This is awesome. Hablamos Spanglish.
Yes. And I couldn't think of a better person for us to start the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, but you are such an inspiring person, and you're doing so much and so many things for our U.S. Hispanic community. So we want to learn, about you, about your heritage, and everything that you are doing here, with Hispanic Starts and also all the initiatives as an activist that you're doing.
Amazing. Thank you so very much for having me. Honestly, this topic means the world to me.
I know. So let's start. So tell me, who is Claudia Romo? Where is Claudia Romo from? A little bit of your background and your journey here in the U.S.
So, bueno, hola. Yo soy Claudia Romo Edelman. I'm Swiss-Mexican. I'm a Swiss-Mexican diplomat, media, journalist by training. I was born in Mexico. I'm from the north of Mexico, and I pretty much spent the last 25 years of my life in Europe, whether it was France or England, Germany, Switzerland, where I spent a number of years, where I was working for international organizations. And I moved to the States 10 years ago. Okay. And when I moved as part of my global mobilization role with the United Nations, that was the first ever time that I heard that I was a Hispanic. I was like, what is this Hispanic thing? I lived my entire life as a happy Mexican. And I was like, wait, what is this new word that I am going to be part of? And this group is going to be amazing. And then I started getting to understand the data a bit more. I was like, what is this Hispanic thing? Can you give me some sense of it? So I started actually gathering information, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to be a majority. Mm-hmm. I started looking at the numbers, and it was exciting, like after so many years, and even with my kids of being, the only Mexican, I was like the most exotic thing that many people have seen, particularly in the Germanic countries. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be part of the majority. And because Latinos were 62 million people, mm-hmm. 20% of the population, but also because we're such a big part of the economy.
Yes.
Everywhere where I'm going to go, people are going to roll the red carpet. I'm going to say like, thank you, Latina. Thank you for giving us 12% of the GDP of, 12% of my salary and your salary and your salary. But the reality is that when I started walking in the streets, I didn't feel that majority and I didn't feel that red carpet. I mostly felt quite out of sync. And misunderstood. And I just felt a very minority, I have to say, and treated as, as stereotyped. So I was working with the United Nations and the Secretary General. And every time that I came to a place really proudly and said, like, I'm a Hispanic, I'm part of this new group, I'm a Latina. First of all, the Latinos that were there didn't even want to engage with me in either language or, like they were like sort of like hiding every time I went to a restaurant and I had a waiter that was a Latino. I was like trying to make a conversation like, oh, you and I, right? And it didn't sink. People were like either hiding away or they were people were stereotyping me already, like they were putting me into those new boxes. So pretty much, I think that arriving to the U.S. was a bunch of enigmas that were thrown into my face. Understanding that this was a massive community, but felt small.
Yeah.
It was like big in numbers, but acted like weak. So I started realizing that honestly, I started thinking that everything that I knew could be put into the benefit and to the, into the trying to reverse this marketing problem that we were having. So pretty much, I think that for the last 7 years, this has been my quest, not only understanding what this community means, but also what are the issues that we have and trying to unsolve the enigma issues that we have so that we can truly be seen, heard, and valued, and so that my daughter can have an opportunity of being fully paid and fully respected and fully seen as a result of the change that I think we're going to all be witnessing.
Yes, and we truly appreciate we're seeing everything that you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing that's your story. And I really want to go back to when all this started, where the Claudia said, I want to do this for a living. I want to help our Latino community or work with the United Nations. You mentioned that you lived overseas, so as an immigrant, in different countries, but you saw the difference when you came here to the U.S.
I think that everybody has one or two stories that truly, when you go back in memory lane, you can start seeing the first traces of who you are and what you do. And I think that for me, if I start looking back, where I started either being a marketer or being involved in social causes, which are the two things that I've done my entire life, it goes back to one or two, like one or two moments, I would say, where I had like the realization or the first traces of who I am and what I've been doing. And one of them was an earthquake in Mexico.
Okay.
In 1985, there were a series of earthquakes that were shaking the country pretty badly, the city pretty badly. And me, like everyone else that I know, everybody, went out on the street trying to take shelter and trying to see whether you could see whether your family and friends were okay. And you could start seeing how in crisis, the human nature, the self-organizing, the leadership starts emerging. And so there was one person over there saying like, here, let's bring blankets so that we can start looking for, and the person over there saying like, we're going to start collecting food. And there was a group that was like, okay, let's go and sweep streets so that we see whether there's anybody that is trapped in the buildings that fell down. And I was part of that group. And I remember that it was very confusing. It was very loud. I was like the only teenager in the group of big men. Wow. I don't know why I went into that group. But then when we were walking, there was something that literally just like stopped me and made me open my big mouth and start shouting out loud, like, stop, come back. And so there was one of the guys that turned around and looked at me and was like, what? I was like, I think I heard a voice. Like, you're like, think or heard. And I just looked at him and started shouting even louder, like, stop, come back. So he came back, and by the time he was here, it was clear there was a voice trapped in that building. So both of us looked at each other and started shouting, like, come back. hello, stop, come back. So two more people came, and the four of us started shouting until we got like 20 people that were there shouting with each other. And
Wow, that's
like we
incredible.
were pushing for what it felt like ages. Until there was like a breakthrough and a piece, like we were able to move that wall, and there was a light coming through, and there were the eyes of that girl looking at us with eyelashes full of dust and a sense of like, you got me, right? And that was the first ever time in which I felt useful. And that was an overwhelming feeling about like, wow, there's something so much bigger than ever I like myself and that everything that I've ever felt. But it was also the first time in which I was like, wait a second. My father keeps on shouting like, you're so loud, you're so loud. I was like, oh, it makes
I
sense.
have a
Things,
voice.
like I have a
Yes.
voice, and this having a voice is great. It
Yes.
doesn't necessarily need to be bad. And I had the honor, I would say, and the pleasure of having for 25 years pretty much done the same, which is like cry out and try to get the attention to things that people might not be able to see at first, that are like incredibly precious and valuable, and having been able to do it in a way that is authentic to me of who I am, and being able to use my true self to devote my attention to bring the hearts and minds of people to things that they, like poverty or maternal mortality or AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Now doing it for the first time in my life into something personal, which is my community.
No, and I love that you shared that because Hablamos Spanglish was born out of what I thought it was my como una debilidad, right? My weakness. And I, because of my accent, and I felt also a minority and everything, some of those things were on my head. So they were like limitations to me. So what I did was to transform that. And I started a podcast to give a voice to, Latinos like you, Hispanics that are making a difference, but also, they unheard voices here that are local champions in our community as well, and inspire Latino immigrants, because I think this country has so much to offer and so many opportunities in here, but still we're seeing the difference, like you mentioned. You still feel, yeah, I'm here and I'm doing everything I can, but we need more voices. We need to we need to be heard, right? Just like,
But also, I think that what I was
mhm,
very attracted to in your podcast
yes,
is this particular stereotype that you're trying to, like open up,
hmm,
which is bilingual,
yes,
accentism, biculturalism. And so often I've seen I've seen really deep into corporate environments, but also the data, how much Latinos feel lesser in their self regard and
hmm,
the social recognition because we're not fluent enough.
yes,
We're not
yes,
fluent enough in English. We're not fluent enough in Spanish. It's almost like you're not 100%, like you're not enough Latina.
hmm,
You're not enough American, where in reality, and we're taught and we're seen as how these bilingualism and this biculturalism impact our professional development. And many times it affects our self-esteem, our self-confidence. It leads to self-doubt and anxiety related to language proficiency. And then you associate language proficiency with IQ or with intelligence
yes,
or with like your capacity to perform. And so it leads to struggle, it leads to a sense of not belonging because you don't belong here or there. And when you have that, it is very normal to go into imposter syndromes, microaggressions, lack of representation. But what I love about like being able to have a podcast like yours
hmm,
is that you're able to flip the script,
yes,
which means use this technique in which you're able to put the strengths and not the weaknesses of something, where you're looking at data, not as stereotypes for something. So if you start looking at, we're called not fluent enough, but you can flip it around and you can say like, wait, I have a proficiency and multiculturalism. Being bilingual means that I have a deeper understanding of different cultures. Bilingual leaders are more cultural sensitive, they're more aware. As a leader, when you're bicultural, bilingual, you're able to navigate easier cross-cultural interactions, avoid misunderstandings, build stronger relationship with your colleagues. You're also having better and wiser and wider communication skills, because you're able not only to communicate to two different audiences, but you're able to understand the cultural nuances and one and the other. And obviously you're more adaptable and more diverse. So you're able to have that flexibility of that empathy. So it's really, really important, I think, that we start demystifying accentism. Accentism means you're more proficient, more intelligent, more adaptable, more flexible, and not lesser of. So let's flip the script when you're talking Spanglish, so that you feel more intelligent and better, willing and ready to be better paid than if not.
No, and I love that you mentioned that, because it took me a little while to flip the script. First I thought it was a weakness, and then I'm like, no, this is my strength, right? So this is why I created Hablamos Spanglish, and now that I have my agency and I can help also Americans that want to reach to the Hispanic market, right? Because, and I know you talk a lot about this, and we'll get into that, because, for example, I remember my dad told me one time, is like, Anna, just because you speak with an accent doesn't mean that you think with an accent. And it was because I didn't apply for jobs at that time, because I thought that people were looking at me, down, or weren't gonna respect me because of my accent. And that's why I wanted to really inspire and change, like you said, that script, and motivate our Hispanic community to go after their dreams, and dare to apply for that job, or the Americans even to learn more about us and why we're here, and the impact that we're having. And and that's why you're here, Claudia, because I've seen everything that you're doing. And through, for example, I want you to tell us about the Hispanic All-Star and We Are Human, two amazing organizations that you are a founder of. And how did that started? How did Claudia, because you came from, working in Europe, arrived here in the US, and like you mentioned, you felt more of an immigrant and didn't understand these differences and why, and I heard, a video of you saying, hey, we are Colombians and Venezuelans and Mexicans. So, we treat each other different, but we are one community. So tell us a little bit about that.
For me, it is totally possible, and I am beyond optimistic. As a fact, I'm more possibilistic, because it's possible. Because I've seen communities come out of nothing and thrive with 1/10 of what we have. So if, if you would have been with me working in the, harshest of the situations, whether it was in Africa or in East Asia, you would have seen how devastated the conditions were, and people managed to thrive once they got organized and agreed on a plan together as a group of people. And normally starts with a small group of people that share a dream and are able to incentivize and excite other people about what's possible. And I know that for the Latino community, all the conditions are given. We have systemic barriers, we have issues, but in reality, there's a fragmentation that stops us, and so we have to unify. There's a sense of pride that we have to build, And then we have to agree on a plan of what we are all going to be pushing for so that we act as
As
a
a whole.
team, as opposed to people that are hurting each other or elbowing each other. So we are all human is a result of seeing from the bird's perspective, where I was sitting at the office of the Secretary General of the United Nations, where I started seeing that racism, xenophobia, and discrimination were getting a lot of traction, by far more traction that I wanted to, and that could derail the incredible progress that we're making as humanity, and that I needed to create something, a campaign, if you want, a platform to remind people of one single principle. We are all human. We belong to the same human family. What happens to one affects the other. Even if you're bombarded with, like with a sense of you only get what you want to hear, and you get only evidence of the points that you already believe, and probably in social media that's all you consume, and probably in real life the friends that you have think like you and act like you and
Exactly.
eat like you and so on. And so when you go out of that little bubble, you're like, who are you? Who are you? Why do you look so different than me? And you don't have access and the right for the same things that I do. And so building World Human as a sense of a reminder of that muscle that we all have to exercise to see each other's perspectives, to be able to understand that we have different opinions, we come from different backgrounds, and that is great. The world is browner, more feminine, and with a bigger heart than ever before. So we have to be able to move the needle from tolerance to acceptance. And when I was in that process, I started realizing that really the community that has the farthest behind in America was Latinos.
Wow.
I could see a lot of the progress moving forward for many other communities. I didn't see that for us. And I saw that the principles that were holding us, if you want, like the little things that were holding our potential, were things that I thought I could help to unleash.
Yes.
So I created the Hispanic Star as a symbol to unify us all, as a platform to showcase the incredible contributions of Latinos to the country. It was almost like if you would be in a dark room and you just needed to have someone turn on the light. And so that's the idea of Hispanic Star, to remind everybody that America is made of stars and that we Hispanics were one of them. It came as a solution, if you want, like
Yes.
the Hispanic Star is a symbol so that you don't even have to worry whether it's Hispanic, Latino, Latinx. You have the star from the American flag, the ñ from Espanol, and if you put it together, it can become something like the rainbow for the LGBTQ or the rings for the Olympics. And ideally, that can help us in the communication that we need to position us again as positive contributors to the country.
That's incredible, and I appreciate it. I always at the agency we all use the data that you guys provide, which is incredible. It's an amazing resource, just like the Hispanic Heritage guide that you guys provide. And now that we are um, initiating the Hispanic Heritage Month, I wanted to, what do you think about Hispanic Heritage Month? We always said that Hispanics need to be recognized all year long because we're present all year long. And, we celebrate during this month that, yes, we're here, but the reality and one of the studies that you mentioned was the Hispanic sentiment, how we feel about brands, that we don't see representation or we don't see us, at boards, So tell us a little bit about that. How do you feel with Hispanic Heritage Month?
Look, I'm a marketer. So I think that we are not Latinos only 1 month of the year, but it is great to be able to unify voices and to sing from the same song sheet and to break through the noise once, whatever it is, whether it's Hispanic Heritage Month, Dia de los Muertos, Cinco de Mayo, 1st of
Yeah.
January, I don't care. But I think it is a great opportunity for us. We're never in synchrony, singing from the same song sheet, saying Latinos are positive contributors to the country. Latinos are generating 12% of the GDP. Latinas generate more. So as long as you take one opportunity where you all agree on, I think that it is a marketing technique that I invite everybody to use. It doesn't mean that you have to reduce yourself to being, being reduced to that.
Yes.
But when I started working in this space, I went to companies and I was like, what are you doing for Hispanic Heritage Month? And they were doing half an hour of bad margaritas and checking the box and saying like, I'm done with my Latinos. And I was like, no, let's actually shift the script so that we can, if you're going to do Latino something, do data. Educate yourself about the power of Latinos. Use it to talk about like our positioning through the data, through the facts, so that you can become a factivist for our community. Because all we need is to know the facts so that we can turn on the light for someone else. We can correct the distorted mirror that we have. And I do think that Hispanic Heritage Month is an incredible opportunity. So wherever you are, if you can join and get yourself into being singing from the same song sheet, and let's do the same in any opportunity that is granted to us. When people are like, oh, Cinco de Mayo is not the independence of Mexico, and I'm like, it doesn't matter, just take it. Say yes, let's talk about Latinos on Cinco de Mayo. Have a beer and let me tell you about the data of Latinos. Take any opportunity, because what we have to do is not correct people about what Cinco de Mayo is. It's about telling people that we are not negative. We're positive.
Exactly.
It's moved the needle from invisible to visible and from takers to makers. And that is the bigger picture. So anything else is just a tool for us to get to that change.
Bravo. I love it, because that is something that, we need to keep pushing out there, the impact that Latinos, the Hispanic community is making here in the US, and we are 20% of the population, and we keep growing. And unfortunately, sometimes, what you see on the news are negative stuff, right, about Latinos. And we are that voice, that we need to tell more stories about what, all the positive things are out there, and the incredible things that the Latinos are doing here and making a difference in this country. You talk about changing the perception of the Latinos in the community, right? In many of the videos that I have been seeing, how is the Hispanic Star helping change that narrative? Because I know that you have also the books that you release once a year. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
And the books, actually,
Yes.
we're publishing 9 books this year.
Awesome.
So 8 books on children in Spanish and English, and 1, the Hispanic Star Rising, that we publish every year with the stories of the Hispanic stars that are rising, so that whether you're a company or a media organization, whether you're a Latino that needs some inspiration, you can find those stories like gathered, so that there's no excuse for all of us not to feel inspired or to feel connected, and to be able to actually call on someone to do interviews and to share your story that will inspire others. Hispanic Star, look, again, I'm a marketer, so I look at life through a branding and through my profession. And I've been doing that for over the last 25 years. And I've been blessed to be able to participate in the most important global campaigns that have happened in the last 30 years. And so I've learned the tips and tricks from, like what it is to launch the Sustainable Development Goals, what it is to have a consumer brand like Product Red, that can engage consumers in making a choice between buying one product or another in order to feel better about themselves. And I think that with us, because so much of the issue that Latinos have is about being excluded, not being included. We're benched from the game. And no one is even looking at us in the bench. And so what we need to do is correct an issue of invisibility, of exclusion. That means a game of perception. And through perception, then you're going to start changing the representation.
Yes.
If your perception of yourself, if the perception of others about yourself is negative or is small or is stereotyped, the likelihood is that your reality will be negatively affected, that you will be put in a position where you're like contributing into a stereotype role, and that you will not be able to have the size of the wings that you need to be able to fly high. So Hispanic Star comes as a marketing solution for an identity crisis that Latinos need to revert. So we are 200% of a person. We're positive contributors to the country, and we have to be seen as what we are, stars. Understanding that we're stars of basketball, of astronomy, of architecture, that we are like making it into media, that we are like that we're resilient, that we are, like everything that you want to put into that, and and it's allowing us to unify as well, because we do have an issue of being very, very diverse as a community. So you have the Mexicans, the Colombians, the Venezuelans, the LGBTQ, the African American, the African Latino, the native Latino. So how do you actually reconcile everybody? Well, the Hispanic Star comes as a one unifier, saying a symbol for all of us, because we're called Latinos, we're called Hispanics, and it allows us to imagine ourselves shining bright, bright like the stars, positioning us and allowing us to dream big like the stars, understanding and making sure that everybody in the country understands that America, like the flag of the American flag, like the stars of the American flag, there are many stars and we're one of them. So it allows us to do it in an inclusive way, understanding that Hispanic progress is American progress, and that America is made of stars and we are one of them.
I love it. I think that there are many many stars still to be discovered. I feel
Exactly.
yes, I feel like there are so many unheard voices. And what I love about, for example, the book, it was, I realized like 2 years ago when I recorded one of the first episodes of the podcast, I invited Kevin Ortiz. He was one of the stories that that you guys have on one of the books, and he was my intern when I work Prospera, which is a nonprofit Hispanic organization to help entrepreneurs to start their businesses. And when I saw him there, and you guys, recognizing his efforts as a student, as a young Latino leader, it really impressed me, because those are voices that sometimes we don't recognize, but they are so valuable, and it helps others in different levels wherever you are in life to be inspired and continue, whatever your dream is, just follow it. And I think with hard work in this country, you can do it, if you.
But also allies. We need
Yes.
allies. And so the Hispanic Star can allow you, whether you're a company, it's almost like when you go to the supermarket and you buy the toothpaste and it has the symbol of the molar, that is like the dental association. We want the Hispanic Star to be able to be used as a stamp, as a symbol for companies to say, I'm a Hispanic Star company and I want to celebrate my Hispanic Star employees. And I want to make sure that when you're buying a
Yeah.
product and it has the Hispanic Star, then you're able to recognize that I'm committed to the community, that I care, so that you as a consumer, you can make a choice. So I want to see the Hispanic Star, and I want to see Hispanic Heritage Month being as big as Pride meets Halloween, so that when you walk into the streets of New York, of Chicago, of Miami, of Los Angeles, you can see the Hispanic Star in the windows, in the t-shirts, in the talking points of the CEOs making it, so that we can be recognized as a whole. The Hispanic Star is a symbol that belongs to everybody, but it can be as powerful as having the rainbow, as a
Yeah.
way to express and attract the allies, to say, I'm simpatico to you.
Yes.
I see you
Claudia,
shine, and I want to make sure that I
we
help
can
you.
start it right away, because I already told you we are ready at Bold. We use all the tools that you guys provide. We are a Hispanic Star uh all the way. And then we are here at Hi Hello Labs, which is where we record our podcast. This is a Latino owned. Both their owners are Latinos, Carlos from Mexico, Carolina from Dominican Republic. They are incredible. And I know they are also all-star company. So we're going to start using it here in Orlando. Count on that. Now talking about Orlando, are you coming to the U.S. Hispanic USCCC conference or Latitude this coming?
Yeah, I would love to look. I mean, like this is where Latinas
Yes.
have it double hit, right? So we have a perception issue, which is by far harder than Latinos men. Latinas are perceived as our physical attributes. So we're seen as sexy, loud, beautiful. But what about intelligent, hard worker, and leader, right? And the other one is that we do hold that multi generational, vertical, and horizontal jobs of being mothers, daughters, primas, tias,
Yeah.
etc. So my daughter is a rising senior applying to college right now, which meant for me that I had to prioritize and and had to choose and prioritize the things that I can do. So unfortunately, this is for me one of the one of the hardest
I
decisions
know. Yes.
to be made, which is I'm not going to be able to do anything. I haven't been able to do anything, and I will continue actually being here because I think that although there are sacrifices to be made, there are cost implications and so on. Having the clarity in your mind and being able to have the luxury of saying like
I
between
know.
going to something I can do or I must do or the things that I am able to do as a mother, I have to prioritize it. So long story to say, I'm not going to anything until my daughter gets into college.
Oh no, but I love that first as a Latina mom, always choosing family. I think that's is great. For to hear that from you as well. But we will miss you. But everything during Hispanic Heritage Month, you can do it through just the way we're doing it right now, virtual. Right?
That's
That's the beauty of
amazing.
it. So,
And the
um,
other thing is that, like a, if you're a Latino, the likelihood is that family matters dramatically for you. And instead of being ashamed and saying, or, like instead of a boss or a peer in an ally in a company, not understanding that piece,
mhm,
how valuable that is for your work. Amigos, wake up,
yeah,
turn it around. When you're familismo, when you're a person that makes the choices I just made, it means that I'm going to lead my team like a mother. It
mhm,
means that I'm going to care for all the team members. It means that, like you're going to make sure that you're giving a shout out to your team members, that you're going to procure their well being, that they will feel that someone cares. And when you have that, that is priceless for
of
a
course.
company. So I think that again, flipping the script instead of thinking you're too family oriented,
No.
is you can lead like a mother, which means everybody under you will feel cared, protected, and like with someone that can elevate them.
I love that. Yes, we have to embrace, and I know that I'm not a mom, but I certainly know many Latina moms, and my mom was like that. Just, their daughters, her daughters were her priority, and I have seen many examples, like you mentioned, that our moms will take care of their businesses and they include their kids on their businesses, and they lead by example. So I truly admire that. um, Claudia, so I know you recently were at the Open. I think it was this weekend, and you also have been part of the economic forum in Davos, and you were in Keynes. So many important events, right? That are involving more communications about Latinos. So, can you tell us a little bit of what you are listening and the message that you are putting out there on these, key events?
Latinos are key for the growth of any organization that wants to be in business in the future. So we have to take comfort in understanding that people are talking about us. They want to know Latinos. They want to know how to engage with Latinos. They want to know how to engage with Latinos as consumers, as employees, as suppliers, as the community. Companies know that they cannot hire, they cannot sell, they cannot grow without our community. So take comfort and turn the tables to start in a position of power. That's why I think that flipping the script matters, because we're coming from a position in which you can do an interview for a job and know that if you don't like it, it's like the taxis. If it's not this one, it's the next one, because they are talking about us. They need us. So we're going to the World Economic Forum in Davos, talking to the decision makers to make sure that we are part of the agenda. But companies and people that know their data, they know about us. They just don't have access to us. They don't have access to, like to the leaders of the community. And then we have to educate ourselves a bit better on how to behave in front of leaders from companies or countries or organizations, so that we are not acting as a one, we're acting as the many. So that we don't come like sponsor $5 here for me and here for me, but like, how do you engage in the Latino community, and we get organized ourselves on what can we do differently. That is why it's important actually to be in those platforms. That is why it's important to be where there's the room where it happens, the status quo, where you get all the relationships, because we have to, one, plant our flag, two, get the access code and share the access code. And by doing that, educate our leaders and ourselves so that we can come with a proper understanding of the frameworks where we are, and we come with a unified agenda as opposed to an individual one.
Yeah. And what advice, Claudia, will you give to those companies that, still the Hispanic market or the Hispanic community is a second thought?
That's a majority. Only 10% of the Fortune 500 companies have a comprehensive Latino strategy. That means that we have a long way to go until companies really understand, companies and organizations understand and have Latinos as their priority. Here is the trick. The trick is that we need to be ready with the with the resources that they are gonna need, because Latinos are the future. We are the prosperity of this country. We are increasing in our influence, so we are Latino power, and we're making progress in all the aspects of our lives. So when you consider Hispanics as prosperity, power, and progress, there's absolutely no way that those Fortune 500 companies can make it without us. So whether it's today or tomorrow, companies will have to prioritize Latinos. Whether it's today or tomorrow, Latinos will be the future workforce of America. The question is, who is going to pay the higher cost for having to course correct and say like, oh, how do I engage with Latinos after your competitor already became the choice, the employer of choice? And the question will be for us on whether we are equipped, whether we have the opportunities and the education needed so that we are ready to get into those positions. So it's all a matter of time. We have to do our part in unifying ourselves so that we help each other as opposed to fragment and elbow each other. We have to support each other. We have to buy from each other, promote each other, give the access code to each other, give the opportunities that we need so that we are ready with the jobs of the future, artificial intelligence, computer science, marketing, communication. We have to be on the top notch, and we have to do our piece. And you will start seeing how little by little the country will start turning into a more Latino. There's more tortilla sold than bread today. There's more salsa sold than ketchup in America today. So you'll start seeing not only how music is in the number one charts of the country, but how our culture and everyone is, as Bad Bunny would say, now everybody wants to be Latino. Ahora todos quieren ser Latinos.
Yeah, and we're so loyal, right? I think, if you see, like I still use so many things like products and services that my mom used to use in Venezuela or my grandparents or so we are loyal to companies, and if we see ourselves represented, we also,
100%.
yeah, we're gonna be still be loyal. But if we see that we're not being represented and another company is doing that, then we're gonna change products, eh?
Exactly.
Because yeah, that's what's
Exactly.
happening. And Claudia, so what advice would you give, Hispanics or Latinos in our communities to start with activism, to being that voice? What recommendations would you give to them and to us to still take part, be one of those voices that wants to be heard, right?
We have an incredible opportunity to be part of history. This will be the generation that will see the total change of Latinos from invisible to visible, from negative to positive, and from takers to makers. We can be the last generation that is not fully paid, fully seen, and fully valued. We just have to, and everyone has to take a decision on whether you want to put your hands on the dam when it's breaking, because it's already started breaking. There's water leaking. And that means that you have to be part of the history where we're transforming our perception, where we're increasing our representation. The best way to do it is by understanding your data and by knowing. Know your data, become not an activist, but a factivist. Get the facts and talk to them, to everybody. Talk to them, like talk about the data with your colleagues. Talk to the data with your HR person, with your marketing person, with your colleagues. Go to your sports club, go in the dinner conversations. Everybody needs to know that Latinos are powerful and positive contributors to the country. If we are able to, all of us, start turning around data, start turning around the pride, then we will start seeing that change that already started happening. Where I go to a restaurant today, and the Latinos that are helping in that restaurant are looking at me and they're giving me the coffee before, because we connect, we're
Yes.
Latinos. And if you're going to a place and you know that there's a Latino, you're going to open the door faster because you're connecting. The shame is turning into pride. And it's part of us when we do that, to be able to turn around history and say, like, yeah, there was a time in which Latinos were seen as negative, and now, like, forget about it. Now everybody not only wants to be Latinos,
Yes.
but everybody appreciate it, and we can be in a world where Latinos are seen and heard and valued.
Estamos de moda. Yeah, los latinos estamos de moda for
Estamos.
sure. So, Claudia, we're getting close to the end of the episode, but before we let you go, I wanted to, I'm going to be asking you some questions, and please just answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay? These are freestyle questions. So, let's say your favorite food from home.
Quesadillas.
Quesadillas? Rico.
Quesadillas.
I always said that I was Mexican in another life because I love Mexican food.
So good.
Is there somebody that you admire, that you want to meet, that you would like to meet?
Oh, wow. There's a bunch of people that I admire and a bunch of people that I would like to meet. I think that I would love to. The person that I admire the most in my life is my mother, my late mother, that passed with COVID. And I think that Kate Blanchett is an actress that really emulates everything that I admire in someone. Like, not only the roles that she plays, the caliber of acting she has, excellence in what she does, but also her humanitarian side is incredibly deep and committed. So I think that would be the person I'd love to have a dinner with.
Awesome. Favorite place or a place that you would like to travel here in the U.S.?
I have never been to Yosemite.
Yosemite. Yosemite.
Yeah, Yosemite. Yosemite, I would love to go
Yes.
to Yosemite, and then Cristo and Jean-Claude, the late artists, were going to cover the Colorado River. I'm going to wrap them, and I wanted to do that. But otherwise, I would love to go for a 2-week
Awesome.
rafting
Oh, yes.
experience in the Grand Canyon, too.
Awesome.
I do have a big bucket list, so don't get me going.
Right.
Don't get me going.
This is such a beautiful country. We have to experience it. Favorite sport?
I think that now tennis.
Tennis. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Music. Favorite music?
I love Brazilian music.
Brazilian.
MPB, música popular brasileira.
Okay.
I love Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil, Trivialistas, Marisa Monti. So that's it.
You're a true fan.
I'm sticking to that one.
You're a true fan. There you go. Thank you so much, Claudia. My last question will be, what do you wish for the Hispanic community? What is your biggest wish here in the youth?
I honestly would love to see a time in which Latinos are fully seen, fully heard, fully valued. I would love to see a Hispanic Heritage Month that is Pride meets Halloween, where every street, every store is celebrating Latinos, products developed celebrating Latinos, a country embracing our culture where we are able to have the self-recognition, the self-regard, and the social recognition that we deserve so that we can really, truly feel as stars, as Hispanic stars.
Muchas gracias, Claudia. Thank you so much for, being here at Hablamos Spanglish, being an honor. And I'm looking forward to attending in December the Leadership Summit in New York. You are a true inspiration for me and for many Hispanics, and I value everything that you're doing in the community.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Keep it up. This is an important topic.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Muchísimas gracias, mi gente. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey of Hablamos Spanglish. It is a pleasure for me to explore the diverse stories and experiences within our vibrant Hispanic community. I hope that you have found inspiration, connection, and a deeper appreciation for our culture and heritage. Remember, our stories are what unite us and what make us stronger. Stay tuned for more captivating episodes in the future, and don't forget to follow us on social media and share your thoughts with us. Hasta pronto.